Guys, what's up? Welcome back to Max's Bass Fishing, and in this video we're going to be talking about all the different kind of lure types and getting you ready for bass fishing, and just talking about all the different kinds and saying which one's the best, which one works in these kinds of traditions or conditions, and just giving a couple words about each lure. So I've laid out one of basically each lure that I have, and we're going to talk about them in a couple words. Cameraman, come on. So here we have the poppers, there's the hula poppers, and these other Ozark Trail poppers that I just bought from Walmart, and they go across the water just right in the middle, like the bottom half of them is in the water, top half is not, and they don't really make too much splashing unless you really rip them across, popping, and that'll just imitate a fish that's kind of hurt and is not doing very good. So that's that kind. And then we have the propellered ones. These two are the only ones that I had, but they basically go right as the hula poppers do, but they have a propeller that makes a little bit of disturbance in the water, and they rattle like that, and so the fish look up or hear them, and they look up to see what's going on, and they see that, and they charge. So that's that. And then we have this one is the 6-inch Sexy Dog, and that's one of the really good lures. It kind of doesn't do anything except you just rip it across the water, and they hopefully see it. It doesn't shake. It doesn't really make too much disturbance, but they just see that because it's so big. This one right here is the Whopper Plopper. It's my most expensive lure because I don't have any swim baits. It's about $50. And it basically, this propeller spins just like those ones do and make just a big thing. And this one here imitates a bird or a duckling that is going across the water and not doing very good. So that's obviously for big bass. And the dealer that sold me this said it was definitely for night fishing. I don't know. I tried it at night and that didn't work, but I've never caught a fish off that in the day either. So yeah, that's that one. Now the jitterbugs, they are kind of an old-fashioned lure. I have like the weedless jitterbug and the 2-piece jitterbug and then the normal. And they're okay lures. I've had some hits on them, not a lot of bite action, but they work pretty good for sure. And not too much to say. They go across the water with this little whip here and just kind of go along. And then we have the frogs, which is a good selection that a lot of people say. I've never caught a fish off any, and I have this frog right here, which is a very nice frog, and I use it all the time, throw it into the perfect conditions, and never catch anything, but I still have them all, so if I want to use them, I can. And they just kind of obviously look like a frog. You can throw them from into shore off a kayak or a boat, and then rip them into the water and make them look like a frog jumping into the water or falling off land, and then you can rip it over, do pops and pops and pops, and kind of imitate a frog that is hurt or just didn't want to be in the water at that time, and a big bass will come up and chomp it. These are weedless hooks right here, so that you can rip it through the lily pads and the topwater weeds, and it won't get tangled. And then this style has this, and it also makes it weedless. And then when a big bass comes up and hit it, this triggers this, and then it moves off the hook, and then they bite the hook. So that's what that is, if you ever wondered. And then now we have the mid-column work baits. We have a lot of crankbaits and long baits and Rapalas. This is probably my favorite lure here throughout this whole section. Just a knockoff Rapala, and it does great. So those just kind of, this is a whipless crankbait. It dives a lot deeper and has a rattle, and these all imitate a fish. And you can pop them and do any kinds of imitation of a fish to make them look like injured or not injured if you're targeting really big bass. So that's basically those crankbaits and whipless crankbaits and that kind of thing. So now we have the skirted baits. So I actually forgot to talk about this one. This is the buzz bait, and it's also a topwater. It's a spinnerbait, but with the buzz on top, and it makes a lot of commotion, and it basically glides through the water like this on top, right on the water, and this inside the water. So that's what that does. Forgot to talk about that. But the other skirted, this is a nothing. I'm not even going to talk about that. This is a jig with a Rage Craw trailer. This is another one of those lures, just like the frog that I mentioned, that everyone says it's super good, but I have the best of the best one right there, and it doesn't catch me a lot of fish. This is the chatterbait. I've caught a lot of fish off this. I like it, and it rips across the water pretty good. Has this nice really skirt, and obviously for a really big bass, that's a 5/0 hook right there. And now we have the spinnerbaits. Spinnerbaits are basically a shiner imitating kind of lure. They have this head right here with the eye, and the skirt that comes over the hook, and they have this 1 or 2 or whatever. Some of them have 5, but I go up to 2 usually, and that's basically, it imitates a shiner with these shiny things, and they see it. It's great for muddy water, but it's also great for clear water. Some people take the skirts off spinnerbaits, and it's just a customization that you can do pretty easily. This is a big spinnerbait that I took the skirt off, so you can see it's a really big spoon there and a little one. And yeah, those work pretty good. And now we have the soft plastics. So we're gonna start with the floating ones. These are just the original. They don't really do much. Never really use those a lot, but they're floating worms, don't really use them a lot, and they can work, I guess. And then we have the curly tails, which is one of the most popular types of lures. Basically just have this curly tail, and you hook it here, come out, watch a different video. I have a video that I won't link in the description, but you can look that up from anyone else's YouTube channel about how to hook a hook into a worm to make it weedless or not weedless or really good, and that's basically how it works. You hook it from here, and just the tail action makes it look like a fish or whatever the bass want to eat. So this is Senko's. This is the most popular kind of soft plastic right here. These 4 right here. And you can hook them with the Texas rig, just like the curly tail. You can hook them with wacky. They have this part with these ripples, and there's this part with no ripples, and that's your indicator that you can hook a hook right there. So it basically falls into the water like that. And that's how that works. And it's just a wacky rig, and it's another way of rigging it up. So that's that. And now we have the flukes, which is another very popular kind of soft plastic. And you rig them up, and you can rig these weedless very well. And they're not really mid-water. They're kind of top water, but they're not actually coming out of the water. So those are great. Then we have the paddle tail lures. I don't really know a lot about these. But they're basically flukes. You can see they have a lot of imitation to a fluke, but some of them are smaller, and they have a paddle instead of a fin. So that's what that is, and basically smaller and just a different kind of action in the tail. Just this little adjustment makes it look so much different. So now we have the Senko with a paddle tail, and that's just it's just a curly tail worm, but paddle tail to make it look a little bit different. And then we have these wizards right here. They're a floating kind of lure. You can rip them up top, and they have all 5 these legs that can imitate curly tail too, and just make a lot of disturbance in the water. And then we have the rage craw. This is another one of the really popular ones. It looks like a crayfish. You hook it from the front to make it go forward, and hook it from the back, which is more popular. Make it look like go backwards like a real crayfish, and they work great. You can hook them. This is what I have on the jig, as you can see, for a trailer on a jig. That's the rage craw right there. Same thing. And I just hooked it through like that. And that is basically all of my lures that I wanted to talk about. And now, hopefully, I hope that you know a little bit more about lures for bass fishing. Thank you for watching.